The Tony Award nominations were announced May 5th. Among the Best Actor nominees are the 4 stars of Yasmina Riza's hit play God of Carnage. They are Jeff Daniels, Hope Davis, James Gandolfini, and Marcia Gay Harden. They portray 2 sets of yuppie Brooklyn parents who meet to settle a brawl between their children. By the end, they too turn infantile. The New York Times says never underestimate the pleasure of watching really good actors behaving terribly. Their performances, quote, incite the kind of laughter that comes from the gut, as involuntary as hiccups or belching. Here is a look.
What do you mean made aware of his responsibility?
I'm sure your son is not a savage.
Of course Benjamin isn't a savage.
Yes, he is.
Alan! Why say something like that?
He's a savage.
Well, how does he explain his behavior?
He doesn't want to discuss it.
But he ought to discuss it.
He ought to do any number of things. He ought to come here, he ought to discuss it, he ought to be sorry for it. Clearly you have parenting skills that put us to shame. We hope to improve, but in the meantime, please bear with us.
Come on, it's an idiotic. Let's go.
Daniels, Davis, Gandolfini, and Harden are also distinguished actors outside the theater. Here is a look at some of their past, present, and upcoming work.
Come on, you don't want to be a tennis pro.
Why not?
It's not serious. I mean, McEnroe. Borg is an artist. It's like dance. Connors has a brutish brilliance, but at Ivan's level, Ivan is fine, but he's not a serious guy. He's a Philistine.
What's a Philistine?
It's a guy who doesn't care about books or interesting films and things.
I felt abandoned because you abandoned me.
I'm sure that we talked about that in our sessions.
Oh, did we? Mm-hmm. Then how come that last day I sat there on your couch, devastated?
Mia, I was moving with my family to Maryland.
I couldn't leave, and you told me I had to.
I want to hear that psychobabble crap.
If you don't want to hear it, you are the poster child for the DSM-3. I'll have you know I come from a very dysfunctional family, Harvey. I can spot a personality disorder miles away.
Hello, Joyce. Is Harvey home?
Borderline autistic.
So you are gonna kill me.
All right, look. If everything turns out fine and Jerry comes through without this all getting funky, I don't think that'll happen. He brings me the pistol, I give you to him. I'm just here to regulate funkiness.
The case against war is far stronger than the case for war, and the case for war is caveated all to hell. I mean, look at this. Most analysts believe the state is looking to expand aggressively beyond its borders. So then you look down at the caveats. The only source is Iceman.
Exactly.
A possible alcoholic. He probably does 10 bags of methamphetamine a day, the Iceman.
If he even exists.
Dave came back to the apartment covered in someone else's blood.
What did you say happened?
That he was mugged, that he bashed the mug's head in the street, that he might have killed him.
I met you before, you know. It was maybe 5 years ago. A loft to dance. You were 6 sheets to the wind. You cut in, you stepped all over my feet.
Yeah. Got it, right.
You were falling all over me.
I am pleased to welcome them all to this table. Congratulations, first of all, on all these nominations, and great to have you here.
Thank you.
I saw the play and liked it very much. The story is you went to London, saw this play, and said, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I loved the play. I thought it was funny. I thought it was short. It's an hour and a half. I thought it was. Yes. People came out of the theater.
You were looking for a short play?
Well,
why not?
It doesn't hurt to hit home at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, people came out of the theater. They were alive. They were interested. They were laughing. And there was a lot of energy coming out of the theater. And I said, this is something that I'd like to be a part of if I want to go back to the theater. And I have to admit that it wasn't a huge stretch for me.
Why do you say that?
Well, because, you know, it's something that I saw that I said, you know, I understand this. Little did I know that it was a lot more difficult than I thought. But looking at it, I said, this is something to come back to the theater with instead of some, you know, costume drama and a funny hat.
So you probably wouldn't have come back to the theater unless you'd seen something that really...
Oh, no, absolutely. It had to be a new play, and it had to be something that I really wanted maybe, well, a comedy, essentially. And this isn't only a comedy, but it's something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to come back in View from the Bridge or something like that.
What brought you to this?
James.
Did you really?
Well, James was the first one in. James is the reason why he got the ball rolling, even though he's being modest. It's true. And my agent had seen it in London and said, this is a really funny play that starts out sedate, and you don't know where it's going.
Start off
and
sedate,
then, you know, the blank hits the can, and it's really funny, and you're on the floor laughing. And he said, there's a part for you.
Or vomiting.
Or vomiting. Well, something, everything hits the can. And so he said, there's a really great part for you. You should meet Matthew. And when I met Matthew and understood, you know, what was beginning to happen.
Matthew Warchus,
the director. Yeah, I had read it. I thought it was very wonderful, very funny. I thought I could do something with it. And after I met Matthew, I thought this would be something fun to come back to.
You once said, Jeff, that you play the arrogant ass and Jimmy plays the yelling ass.
Yes, that's actually true. The arrogant ass and the yelling ass.
You play the yelling shrew and I'm the vomiting shrew.
So, I mean, what brought you here to this?
I was the last one aboard. The three were on board, and I said these were actors that are known as actors, not stars or anything. These are people that are fearless. You look at their work, they will do anything. And you want to work with people like that. You want to work with people that take chances. And, you know, I read it and said, I don't know how to do this. And after a lot of movies and a long career, it's like I want to do things that I may fail miserably at. And that was the reason I took it. That and the fact that I knew I was going to be in a room with a bunch of people who are known for an acting style that uses each other.
Is there anything appealing about the idea that all the actors are on stage essentially all the time? There is one scene, and so you are, for an hour and a half, a short play, the center of everything.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, that was a big appeal. For all of us, Jim and Marcia and I have not been on stage in about 10 years or so, and we all wanted to come back to the theater for various reasons. But part of what drew me to the play is the idea that no one of us has to carry the play for 3 hours screaming and yelling and, you know, the other three bringing in the coffee. That it was really 4 actors going at it, carrying this thing together. Real ensemble.
Your character says that he is a Neanderthal and that marriage is the most terrible ordeal that God can inflict on you.
Yes, he does.
So what does that tell us about him?
That he's had a hard time of it for quite a while, and he's been shoving down some emotions, and he has had enough in his own mind.
Your character is, as I said, the arrogant ass. Your character is somebody who walks out, and we think anybody who uses a cell phone that much, 2 things happen. He reminds us of somebody we know, and 2, it's dumb and infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, we've all sat
It's
next to,
rude.
well, it might be a little bit.
And what?
And rude.
And rude, yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, it's a phone call, got to take it. We've all sat next to that guy on the plane.
Exactly.
Who fills the cabin with his importance.
Or on yesterday on the train. And they do not realize how loud their voices are, too.
They don't care.
They don't care, that's true.
If anyone's, they
Exactly.
want
Maybe
people
they
to listen
want you to
them.
know just how important they are.
Well, I said to my producer, do you think he knows that we're hearing everything that he says? And he said, that's the point.
Yes.
My
wants you to
husband
notice him.
once said to that person on the plane, we can hear all of your conversation, and it's not that interesting. For all the details of your life, it is not that interesting.
Now, does your character have anything in common with his character who's described marriage as he did?
Yeah, I think we have some allegiances that we kind of come to over the course of the play. I think what's interesting for me is that I start out on page 1. I'm already there. I'm already telling you what I think. I'm telling the truth whether you like to hear it or not. Yeah, and they all kind of come to that. They all kind of, you know, at their own speed. They end up suddenly by about the middle of the play, everybody's telling the truth now. But I kind of stand out in the way that I'm kind of cutting to the chase real quickly in the play.
You have the most physicality.
Yeah, she goes airborne.
Exactly.
That's a word for it.
Physicality. What's a better word?
Crazy.
Crazy?
Life force.
Outrage. What? Yeah. So tell me about your character.
Oh, gosh, it's hard.
In her view of marriage.
I'm telling you, it's hard. I think she really cares. I think she's really community-oriented. She believes that through discussion and through that there's a right way to handle things. But I discover more and more every day that there's a falseness about her that I didn't know even at opening. I didn't know when you came, maybe because I needed to invest in her righteousness. She's very, very righteous. Right. And the play is two couples coming together to discuss an altercation between their children, and they end up behaving worse than the children behaved. And so she's very against violence in any form.
But she's the first one to throw a punch.
She's the first one to throw it. Yeah. She's very frustrated.
She never mentions that about her character.
No, it's true, but it's very... she's tamped down, too. She's frustrated, too. And she's in a marriage that has been a lie.
A lie.
The thing
in a way that she's forced a kind of behavior of civilized behavior from her husband that he hasn't wanted, and they've not been truthful with each other. And I just heard for the first time that I say, I've been steeped in it for months. I never heard that months was months. To me, it was, she began to reinvestigate, maybe I really haven't spent all the time that I think I have, that I thought I had in Darfur. Which is the interesting thing, is that the play is alive. It's changing all the time. It's getting deeper. We have to think as we're doing the play, is this a fat calorie, a good calorie, a wasted calorie? You know, when you're doing the laughs, and as things are changing. And for me, it's deepening. It's just trying to deepen it and understand it better.
By the end of the play, everybody's 10 times more interesting than when the play began.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
True.
That's something I love about the play. I think part of the reason the play is so interesting to watch is when the curtain comes up and the play begins, 3 out of the 4 of us, you are true to yourself all the way through, are presenting the person that we want to show to people. We've made up a type of personality and said, this is who I want to be in society, in the world. And in fact, it's hiding all of the things that we truly are. And over the course of the play, you see all of those things revealed, and it's not pretty on anybody's part.
What are we experiencing here? Are we experiencing people revealing their true character, or are we looking at everybody has their point of rage?
Yeah, everyone has their point of rage. I don't think it's not their true character. I don't think they're ever revealing an entirely true character. It's just a breakdown of patience, I think, and
tolerance.
And
yes.
tolerance. I think that the next day they'd feel differently.
Well, tolerance is a really good word, because the play does have political implications and does have other implications and metaphors. And we have, I say, let's not mix up the victims and the executioners. Right. Might is right. And so that's one of the underbelly themes.
And references to Darfur and
references to the art of coexistence. And you always think of the Republicans and Democrats and reaching across the aisle, and then you see how badly it goes here. Reaching across the aisle doesn't work.
Family.
Right.
And what do you want the people to, Jeff, you said something earlier, what do you want people to leave the theater with, other than a good time and feeling like they spent an hour and a half well?
I agree with Jim. Aside from just the escapism and the enjoying an evening at the theater, that they're talking about it, that they're I think, like Jim says, I think there are things about these people that are in all of us. Whether it's a point of rage or tolerating things to the point that it's that picking up the rock and underneath that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think I had one guy come up to me a couple days ago and say, my wife and I saw the show, and we said, we got to sit down and talk, or we're going to end up like this. And he goes, no, you guys, in a very strange way, put our marriage back on the right track, or at least we're trying. And
because we started talking.
Yeah, because it's those little things, and I think that's what Yasmina has done so well, is that it starts out with this very civil kind of, and then just little things start one of the big lines of this show is Marcia's line to Jim, is that every word you're saying destroys me, and it's true, but we build up to that, and every marriage, every relationship has those little tiny things that, if left alone, can end up becoming God of Carnage.
I love the thing you just said, because when you can go visit a couple and you're a guest at their house, but they've been in a fight, but they're not fighting, but What were those behaviors that they did that you know? And that's the first 20 minutes of the play is a study in that. It's like a little miniature picture studying that. And Matthew Warchus, the director, has asked us not to point at anything. So there'll be teeny little actions. And this is the fun of this play for us, is the craft of it, where you just can give a little hint away that we're in a fight about that hamster.
Yeah.
Henry was in a lot of pain last night. He was being driven crazy by the noise that the hamster was making. And to tell you the truth, I've wanted to get rid of it for a while now. So I said to myself, okay, that's it, and I took it and I put it in the street. Now, I thought they loved gutters and trains and all that, but I guess not, because it just sat there, paralyzed on the sidewalk. Now, they're not domestic animals, they're not wild animals. I really don't know where their natural habitat is. You've dumped them in the woods, they're probably just as unhappy. So I really don't know where you're supposed to put them.
You left it outside? He left it there and tried to convince Camille it had run away, but she wasn't having it.
And was the hamster gone this morning?
It was gone, yes.
And I dragged him out of his very important meeting at his office to be here, and he doesn't want to be here.
The hamster was wonderful, though. That was one great creation.
Yes. Poor hamster.
Now, that's interesting. Do the laughs mainly come where you expect them to come? Or
Different time. I mean, there's a few set places, yes, but they come all different times depending on our energy. I think that evening, and how you hit something. If you hit
so it varies from night to night because of your energy and maybe the
audience is as he always says, is a fifth character. It depends on their energy and what they laugh at.
That's why live theater is so exciting.
Yeah. But explain that to me. I mean, you will be good, the same, or better because of something in the audience. What they create some kind of air and energy that you can play to, off of, from.
Or around.
Yeah. In the case of last night.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you're. It's not that you expect the laugh here or you want it there. You go for it there. It's just, it's not there. And so now we're still. And Matthew said one of his great pieces of direction. One of them was that the play that you're doing is not the play they're watching. So continue to drive the pain, drive the darkness, drive the anger. You know, when she says, Michael, every word you're saying is destroying me. We're not. If close the living room off, it's not funny.
It's not funny for them.
Right.
But they're laughing hysterically. So
the play you're doing is not the play they're watching.
We're watching a wild comedy, and we're doing.
Don't get caught doing the play they're watching.
That's right. Don't
or
do
you'll
a
be
wild
back
comedy.
in rehearsal.
Right. We're not playing a comedy, and when we do play a comedy,
but you react to what they do and say.
You ride the horse.
Doing it right.
There's a horse. They're the horse. Yeah. Well, the horse really is us, but it's help me with the metaphor.
Yeah.
But they're there, and so you use them, and you know that if we grab the rum here, now it's going to happen there.
I think they're the cart and we're the horse.
Cart's good.
We'll go with cart too.
There's that moment when Jeff, you think he's going to comfort my character, and he chooses not. Maybe it was never a choice, but he doesn't, and the audience is surprised. Sometimes we're doing the thing that they would want to do in their mind because my character's been a pill. She's been a pill, and they're so up. They don't love her. And this moment, he doesn't do it. They cheer. The meaner sometimes we are to each other, the more they're involved. But it's not, and they laugh at it.
Meaning they want you to get your comeuppance?
I think that's a good point.
You mentioned several times the director. I mean, how did the director influence the way you saw this, or was it mostly from the text?
I'd say
your own experiences.
Huge.
So he was, and how so?
He had directed it before. He knew it a lot better than I ever could have. He guided us along. He is a great director. He understands timing and
he understands
phrasing,
comedy.
and he understands comedy.
Tension.
And he did say one thing he said was, "You don't want them to laugh here because that breaks the tension. Yes, you could get a laugh, but you don't want it. Just keep it going, and you'll give them the laugh later." I mean, all that kind of stuff that I just came from this very visceral point of, and then I started to learn
A lot.
Yeah. You know what amazes me about this conversation is what goes into theater, what goes into acting, is a whole range of things, as you just said, about holding the point. I mean, it's stunning. I don't know whether we're better off we don't know that, or we would find it even more interesting as we learn more about what happens.
If something's good, you forget about all that. And you're just watching.
You shouldn't be thinking that it's a complicated task for us.
Yeah, right. In other words, you just lose yourself. And if you're good, I will only see your character, especially you.
If I watch a good movie, you're sucked into the movie, even if I know the people. And if it's not working so well, you start picking it apart.
And I think,
like anything else.
I think one of the things that makes Carnage so good is that we don't let you see under the hood.
Right.
We don't let you see the work. We don't show and tell.
Right.
It's just people behaving so that by the end of it, if we're lucky, you think that this is definitive. This is, I can't think of anyone other than Marcia or Hope or Jim in these roles. And if you walk away with that, then we've done a good job of hiding the work and the craft and the mechanics of what we do.
When you look at this play and it goes from France, it goes from Paris, and then there was a showing in London, there was a play in London, then it was mounted here. Clafouti stayed.
Yes, it did.
We may have talked about that for an entire day.
You mean
24. We've had so many conversations about Clafouti you cannot imagine.
So why did it stay?
Well, because we don't have anything in the Cobbler just didn't cut it.
No, it doesn't do it, does
Cobbler
it?
didn't work it. Buckle sounded silly. We tried every baked good under the sun.
Crumb cake didn't do it either.
Crumb cake, Buckle, Cobbler all went by the wayside, and pineapple upside down cake. You know, we had to have a word that sounded
Clafouti.
And some people in my
sound.
neighborhood in Brooklyn, they know what Clafouti is. Do you know what Clafouti is?
No.
You've never had Clafouti?
I'm sure I have, but I just didn't know I was having it.
Yes, you've had it, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great to see each of you. It is a remarkable tour de force. In fact, all the reviews say this is a play in which the actors have really made it. I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.